Hi, my name is Mariah Pena, and this is my persuasive speech. I'd like to begin with a quote. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much, by Helen Keller. And as you all have heard, every second of every day is talk of the current worldwide pandemic known as the coronavirus or COVID-19. I'm sure you all are tired of hearing, seeing, discussing about this just as much as I am, and all you want to do is to be let out of this lockdown and to continue on with normal everyday life. Trust me, I get it, and I want the same. But a lot of people do not understand that this matters. Staying home, limiting contact, social distancing is really all we can do to take part of the solution to return to normal life. The question I pose to you today is why our country should have gone on complete lockdown and why it matters. A little background on COVID-19 is that it is an airborne respiratory disease that is rapidly spreading with currently 1,005,147 cases and 57,505 deaths here alone in the United States. And that includes 50 of the states. And here in Arizona, there's currently 6,948 cases with 293 deaths. And this is important to me because I'm currently a nursing major who wants to pursue a career in the medical field. And I've also been learning about this before it started getting out of hand. And as a part of my path to nursing, I'm required to take many healthcare courses. But recently I took the course Microbiology 205, which is the study of diseases within body systems. And this class has made me so passionate for what I'm learning. So I have a good understanding on how many infections, diseases, and viruses such as this current one works. But I'm definitely not no expert, but I just have a pretty good knowledge on it from course requirements. And there's the common misconception that this virus is new. I learned that is very not true. The coronavirus began in 2003 as SARS, which is severe acute respiratory syndrome, and came amongst again in 2013 as MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, said by my professor Quarantana. And this pandemic is nothing new. Also, I have my microbiology textbook for this course, and it was written in 2015, and it describes diagnoses, treatments, and prevention methods for the coronavirus. And for prevention, they quote, "This pandemic was brought under control using century-old methods of quarantine and isolation," said by Bauman, the textbook writer. And why I emphasize this was written in 2015 is because it's previous knowledge that quarantine is the only measures to be taken when this occurred as an epidemic the previous two times, those people took the necessary action and overcame this, and they were able to return to normal life. But when this is actually affecting us, as in the United States, that is the only time we are acknowledging the virus and the only time we are not taking the necessary action of quarantine, which is why this pandemic is ongoing and so far see no near end. And lately I have often gotten the question from my family, are you sure you still want to be a nurse with seeing everything going on with today's craziness? And my response is always yes, very much so. In fact, it motivates me even more to be one of those people that is out there doing something, but really we all can be doing something. We in fact are given the simplest task to stay in our own homes. And surely I see why that is difficult. We are people who love to have contact with people and see other people, and especially as for college students, most of us, the coronavirus had a huge effect on us, like moving back home or breaking our everyday routines of classes, meetings, gatherings, and so on. So this is quite understandable why people do not want to follow social distancing or the Stay-at-Home Act, but it is not understandable to me why our state or country leaders did not take the necessary precautions of a nationwide lockdown to prevent where we are now, especially if the information of this virus is nothing new. And if there was a highly enforced lockdown from the beginning of the uprising of the cases in the country, it would be much more limited and definitely would not be lasting as long as it may be now. And people would obviously be taking it more serious to stay at home if in isolation if we did it together as a country. And according to experts, they still believe lockdowns and quarantine are growing increasingly necessary. And with studies shown that it will continue until these measures are actually taken. One of the studies said that we showed that transmission will continue to occur unless the most stringent community requirements of quarantine measures are taken in a lockdown setting, which is near complete reduction of activities within the community. And another point I would like to make is how people today in the US are gathering to protest the removal of the attempted lockdown that we have in place already, which is the closure of certain business establishments, schools, and public gatherings. And quoted from one of the articles is crowds in San Diego gathered together on a Saturday marching against the ongoing closures of beaches and parks within the city. And protesters also turned out in the state capitals of Texas, Virginia, and Maryland over the weekend. And I cannot emphasize enough how disrespectful that is. That is very disrespectful to many across the world, but not only highly disrespectful to nurses, doctors, and medical care providers who risk their safety to help the lives of others, but it is also very disrespectful to the ones who can be affected by this, like the elderly, diabetic, or asthmatic, compared to other countries who have been in lockdown, such as the country where this outbreak occurred in China. Their response of staying home was much better. And one of the articles quotes that as lockdowns continue in 15 cities within Wuhan, the residents would try to rise their spirits up. They would state these statements that would translate to "come on" or "stay strong" from within their apartment windows. And people would also say another statement that would translate to "meal by cloud" because they would virtually eat together via video calls. Compared to the local people we have, who want everything to open up, they have no care or thought of the life of others. They do not understand how people's loved ones are dying due to their carelessness, and they do not care until it's actually going to be affecting them. Do you really want to be a part of that? A part of the group that thinks their haircuts or eating at restaurants is more important than another's life? And not only are they risking the lives of others, but they're putting themselves at risk as well. And they may believe it's their choice to go out and risk contraction of the virus, or they think it won't affect them. But if more people need hospitalization, that would be a serious issue due to the shortage of treatment equipment that there is already. And one of the articles quotes, widespread shortage of ventilators force doctors to choose who will live and die within the United States. How unfair is that? That people who are in worse conditions than others don't even get the chance to fight since there's not enough necessary means to treat them. Personally, I do have a family member who has contracted COVID-19. She is one of my elderly aunts who already was not well and was in a nursing home for dementia. And now my uncle cannot see her in those circumstances. They cut off contact completely because of preventing spread. And cases like these are what I'm talking about when people's loved ones are affected. They can't see them in the worst times and when most needed, and others are worried about the malls reopening. And in conclusion, there's an immense number of facts and expert opinions that prove without quarantine or self-isolation, things will get worse before they will come better. And I'm sure we all want things to be better and return to normal, but to do so, we all need to take action. And it's like when people urge us to vote because our one vote matters and it would make a difference. Well, in this case, one more person staying home, like yourselves, can make an impact. And it is hard to isolate yourself, but you have to think of the bigger picture of who you are all doing this for. And there's an article that stated medical care workers have been posting pictures of themselves wearing gloves and face masks while holding up signs saying, "I stayed at work for you, you stay at home for us." So I encourage you to think about this before you go to any gathering or out into the community for social purposes, to think about the bigger picture. There needs to be a change, and it cannot be done unless we solve it together. Thank you.